Good morning. Ooh, the bang's looking especially crazy this morning. I tried to get them to lay down further, but they're not. Anywho, happy Monday before Christmas 2025, y'all. I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everybody's gotten the bulk of their Christmas shopping done. Um, Real facts, I haven't done any. It's just been that kind of a year, and I haven't been in the mood for it. Um, it is what it is. Shopping, however, is kind of what I'm wanting to kind of discuss today, for a few reasons. Yes, it's going to end up political, but a lot of this really isn't. It's just small steps that we can all take to help out our fellow citizens, fellow Americans. Um, Let us be a little kinder. Let us save some American jobs. That's kind of where we're at. Um, Let me go ahead and get the politics stuff out of the way, so that way, if um, there's anybody who wants to skip, you can skip right on over this and get to the let's help each other out situation. So there's a bunch of people screaming, they're taking our American jobs, um, about immigrants and whatnot. And I think as a whole, like we have just this one-armed approach to this, which is let's go after the immigrants, and they're here illegally, let's go after them, blah blah blah. That's treating a symptom of the problem. We're not treating the cause. So start thinking about why these people, and we're obviously not talking about the ones who are coming over here to cause problems. Like the big thing is fentanyl, bringing drugs across the border, what have you. That's not the people that ICE are currently rounding up, by the way, in case you didn't know. The vast majority of the immigrants that ICE is rounding up are people who have overstayed their visa, or people who are actually working like in jobs that nobody wants. But I digress. Why aren't we as a country going after the root cause of the problem? The employers that lure these immigrants here, these migrant farm workers and so on and so forth, why aren't we going after them? Probably because of the lobbyists who are allowing this illegal activity to go on, or it's cost versus benefit, right? Like, there's not enough skin in the game for these employers to not hire illegal immigrants versus getting caught with illegal immigrants. Let's make it so financially, what's the word I'm looking for? Irresponsible, I guess, would be a good word. Let's make it so difficult financially for these employers to hire undocumented immigrants to this country that they don't have the want to come here anymore. If there's no place for these people to work and earn money, they won't come here. Think about it. If you, as a person, doesn't matter where you're from, if you found out that you could get a better job at the next company over, we're not even talking about countries, right? The next company over, you knew that they were going to provide significantly more pay than where you're at now, but it would require a move. Would you do it? Would you do it? We're talking everything's above board, everything's legal. Would you do it? Of course you would. Of course you would. If you knew that your cost of living was going to stay the same, albeit you'd have an added expense for move, but all things considered, your cost of living would be the same, and you're getting significantly more pay than where you are right now, you would absolutely shift jobs. So If those jobs weren't made available to you, then you'd stay where you're at. Same logic applies here, but now you have to throw in, maybe these people are needing to support, sick family members and they can't afford medical care. Or, you have a husband who has a family back home who he can't find work where he's at, or not enough to, pay for his family, or whatever the case may be. He's going to go looking wherever he can. We had a situation, this has been thankfully a long, long time ago, but we had a situation where my husband was way overqualified for any of the jobs that he could find locally, and he was willing to flip burgers to work and earn a paycheck, and nobody would hire him because he was overqualified. And he absolutely was overqualified, but at the time he just needed a paycheck. And the reason why employers don't want to hire somebody who's overqualified is pretty simple. They're afraid that they're going to leave for a better opportunity. And they're afraid that they're going to invest all of this time, money, and effort in training them, and they'll have a spot to fill just until they're hired somewhere else. And I get it. I do. As somebody who has to make those calls, I 100% understand. But I've also taken my chances on people who were overqualified, and they tended to be beautiful in the position. So they were, hard workers. They understood. We all had the understanding that you're good where you're at until something better comes along, and we're both filling a need that we both have, and I was okay with that. But I understand why some people wouldn't want to do that. But this goes back to the whole migrant worker thing, where if you're an employer and the risk of being penalized for having migrant workers isn't enough to deter you from having undocumented migrant workers, then there's the problem. Why aren't we going after these companies that are offering these positions to these migrant workers? Because a lot of times they go out of their way to employ these people. They go out of their way to shield these people from the federales. Like, why are we not doing that? You really want to end undocumented workers coming to this country and make it easier for the government to go after the truly criminal element, which is rare, but the truly criminal element that may be like doing things like smuggling illicit substances over the border, then go after these companies that are employing them. Go after them, raise the fines, make these punishments like criminal, truly criminal. Make them punitive to the point that it is not beneficial anymore for these companies to hire undocumented workers. It's that simple. While I think you need a multi-arm approach, I think that you probably need to, go after individuals who are already here. You can't just rely on that. Like, you also need to go after the people who are offering these individuals jobs. Otherwise, it doesn't stop. Now that that's all having been said, now that has been said, rather, let's discuss. I hate when people don't get over. Let's discuss the other elephant in the room, which is where we as Americans are putting our money. I'm guilty. Let me go ahead and put this out there. I am just as guilty of this as anybody else is. However, let me get there. I understand as a person who is working in the American retail sector that this is a growing problem. And there are those of us who are old enough to remember there being mom and pop shops. There were small businesses. There were corner grocery stores. There were corner retail stores. There were local retailers and five and dime stores. Like I remember these. And a lot of those went under when big box stores come along. And you all know the big major one that I have in mind. They even put the likes of Kmart, which also was a big box store, they even put Kmart out of business. And I kind of miss those days. We have seen regulations that have been loosened, which will allow more companies to come together and merge, and which means less competition, which means higher prices for us. I believe we are in end stage capitalism because we're starting to see, these big mergers happening, and the more companies come together, those of us that are a certain age, we remember when there was a bunch of different Bell companies, and that ended up stopping because monopolies or something like that. I don't remember exactly because I was a kid when all that happened. But we remember there were a ton of different phone companies, and there's not anymore. I can remember when there was a ton of different internet companies and cable companies, and they're not anymore. A lot of these big corporations, Comcast, Spectrum, etc., have gobbled up, AT&T is another one, have gobbled up all of these small little companies that were direct competition for them, and we've seen nothing but our prices go up. Now, how does this affect the worker? Let's go back to retail for a moment. We're seeing a bunch of retail corporations move and shift online. And while that is, at least right now, good for the consumer because we can find cheaper prices online, there's a couple of issues here. First and foremost, we're seeing a reduction in the labor force. I want to say I remember at some point in the near past reading that like in 2022, there was, I want to say it was 2022, I can't remember, something like 9 million U.S. retail workers in the U.S. And by 2024, 2 years later, that number was cut a little bit more than half. And that's a large number of job losses. We're not talking like this is post-COVID, people. We're seeing a ton of jobs lost. Now, some of that is due to automation. The more people that use self-checkout, the less workers they're going to have to hire. And that's kind of a problem. We're seeing, as far as our experience in the stores, you're seeing customer service deteriorate because you have more people coming in, less staff coming in to help these people. The staff member to customer ratio is abysmal, and in a lot of places. And you're seeing that you have overworked and overstressed workers, and the customers are getting ruder, like they have zero filter. And the biggest issue is the online competition. The more that we purchase online, especially from companies that are based overseas, such as Temu and Shein, I haven't jumped on the Temu bandwagon. I haven't even bought anything from TikTok. One, these are Chinese companies, which we hear all the time in the States that don't buy Chinese, or, we're cracking down on Chinese this and Chinese that, blah, blah, blah. And while I agree that needs to be done, at least in some part, there's other things that we're kind of missing out on. when we had the opportunity to visit another country over the summer, pre-diagnosis, like I was seeing brands of vehicles that I had never seen before because they're Chinese makes, and they're significantly more affordable than anything that's made here. I get it. I get it. But at least with the auto manufacturers, like even Kia has moved some of their um, plants here in the U.S., which is a boon for the workforce here. If you're willing to build a factory here, great. Like, let's do that. It keeps workers here. It keeps some of the money here. The more people, more Americans we have working in this country, the more money is moving. And the more money is moving, the healthier the economy. Our economy is healthy only because money is moving. As soon as it becomes stagnant and people begin hoarding their money, that's when we have problems. So we need to keep the economy moving. Now, with that said, I had an experience where I was talking about an item in my store with a friend of mine. And I was like, it's really cute. You'd appreciate this item. This is why I personally bought the item, because I'm just a little kid and appreciate stuff like this. And quite literally, in front of me, this individual is like, hey, I can pull this up on Amazon and get it cheaper. And I was like, that's great. That's awesome. I think that's wonderful that you can save a little bit of money. I was like, but the flip side of that is if you come into my store and you purchase that in my store, you're supporting me and you're supporting my workers that are there. Because the more people that shop locally, the more local jobs you're saving. And it didn't matter. And I get it. Things are expensive. I do. I fully understand that. I have people that come into my store and they're like, I can get this online cheaper. I actually blew my mind. I actually had one customer who tried to explain to me that the items that they can get online are of better quality. That's not been my experience. That's not been my experience at all. You truly get what you pay for. And I was absolutely blown away by that statement, because way more often I have people that come into my store and are like, I have bought this particular item several different times off of various different sites, and they'll last me 4 or 5 times or last me a couple of months, and then I'm having to buy another one. And within about 6 months, they have more than paid for what they would have from my shop for one that comes with a manufacturer warranty. It has, you have the ability to get replacement parts for it if you lose them or damage them. Like I don't understand the logic. I get if you're on a certain budget, like then you're on a certain budget, you can't spend more than what you spend. I truly understand that. Have been there. Have had to buy the crappy merchandise because it's all I could afford. But there are those that I know that could take an extra couple of dollars, and literally a couple of dollars. We're not talking huge savings here. An extra couple of dollars and be like, you know what? Let me buy this locally. One, I can have this in my hand right now. Two, I am supporting a friend. I'm supporting a member of my community in their job. I'm keeping this business open so that way they can provide jobs in my local community. So that way those people who will now have money to go and spend, be it on just necessities or bills or whatever. It's keeping money in the local community and moving. Something else I have personally experienced is travel agents. If you are the kind of person who has the ability to travel, please do so with a travel agent, especially one that's local. Now find one that doesn't charge a fee. If they're charging a fee to book your travel, I believe in my soul that's wrong, because they are, unless caveat, unless you're just booking flights alone. There was a point in time in the past, from what I understand, having worked as a travel agent, that airlines did pay a commission for people who would book, to travel agent, for people who would book flights through a travel agency. They don't do that anymore, because it's more cost effective for them to just charge you whatever they want and not pay a commission for anything else. And they're being cheap like that, and I understand. I get it. Like, do you boo? And airlines are just kind of screwing everybody over anyway, and have been for a long time. They keep making the seat size smaller. They keep making the leg room smaller. So even myself, who is, I'm on the tall end of height for women. And I just spilled some coffee because of the length, because my truck has amazing shocks, but they bounce you around. They are just making the overall flight experience, they're charging you more and they're giving you less. It's just awful. And with travel agents, they're cutting out the commissions, and that's, like I said, I get it, I understand. However, when you're booking a trip, let's just say, for example, you're booking a trip with a cruise line or with Disney. If you're booking one of these trips, go through a travel agent. As long as they're not charging you any extra fees, which they're the travel agent that charges you fees, don't use them. Go to the travel agent, book your trip through them. Here's why. Let's say you call into a call center for whatever company, cruise line, Disney, what have you, and you book your trip through them. Because, yeah, you can totally do it on your own. You can totally go online and book it that way. You don't have to deal with people. There's all of that. Now, problem with that is you book it online, and guess who gets to keep every penny of your money? Those companies, Carnival, Disney, etc. There's no person on the other end. They're just booking your trip, and you pay your money, and they get to keep every last red cent. So here's what you do. You go through a travel agent, and now these companies, they're going to charge you the exact same price, whether you're going through Disney, Carnival, Royal, whatever the trip is that you're booking. Like I said, as long as it's not flights alone, you're going to be charged exactly the same price as you would if you were booking it on your own. You can even, as military, let's say you're going to do Shades of Green. Sure, you can do that on your own, or you can book that through a travel agent. Travel agent's going to get a commission paid for by the vendor, paid for by the travel company that you're wanting to book your trip through. And that money is now staying local with the travel agent that you booked through, instead of going to this big corporation. And even better, having experienced COVID firsthand as a travel agent, you have somebody, if something goes wrong, you now have somebody you can call to help fix it, versus having to handle all of that baloney on your own. I experienced as a travel agent people calling who did not book through me or my agency, talking about, I need your help. This happened due to COVID and I can't get home, or my trip's been canceled and I don't know what to do. You didn't book through me, I can't help you. Period. Full stop. You didn't book through me, I can't help you. I have my hands full dealing with the people that I booked with. That's all I can manage right now. Or that booked with me, rather. So handle that. Not to mention, if you're buying at a local establishment and there is a problem with your merchandise, given that there's no restrictions on any kind of returns or you know, like where I work, it's defective exchange only. We don't do refunds. We'll only, we guarantee the products will work as it says that it's going to work, but we can't exchange. It has to be a manufacturing defect. We can't exchange because you damaged the item. We can't exchange it because you weren't satisfied with the item. Defective exchange only. I know some people will, oh, well, I don't like this or what have you. Um, there's some places that will exchange Walmart, hey, I didn't like this item, or, I got it as a gift and I got two of them. Can I exchange whatever it is? And you can. Um, Unfortunately, not where I work. So that's why I said if there's no, restrictions based on what you're exchanging or what you're needing to do, return, exchange, etc. You can do that, and it's far easier in person than it is having to box something up and making sure it's secure, printing labels with it for it, or taking it to your local drop-off point. Like, you're still having to go somewhere. Why? Just buy it local. It's creating jobs, it's keeping jobs at the barest of minimums in your local community. So why wouldn't you do that? Like I said, I'm absolutely somebody who buys online, although I do try to keep it to things that I can't find locally. Like prior to Thanksgiving, around my birthday, I was recovering from my surgery, and there was a flagman. For real? Like, I'm out in the middle of traffic and you're just going to have the stop sign just there. Yeah, probably a good idea because we're out in the middle of traffic, dude. Anywho, the my husband had bought me some rosette irons. If you're not familiar with what those are, they're little shaped metal irons that you dip into some hot oil and you let them get nice and warm, and then you dip them into this special batter, and then you put them back into the fry oil, and they make these beautifully fried, crispy, very delicate cookies. And you coat them in powdered sugar or cinnamon sugar, and they are absolutely lovely. But you can't find those locally. So we had no choice but to buy those online. And we try to buy local as much as we possibly can. I had recently purchased a particular tiara that I wanted for a bridal look, and again, it was something I couldn't find locally, so I had to buy online. But if you can find it locally, please, please buy local, so that way you're preserving jobs in your local community. You're making sure that people that can be hired local are being hired local. You're keeping businesses open, small businesses, mom and pop businesses. The big box stores killed a lot of local businesses, and they're still trying to do the same. So even, I know right after Black Friday, you have Small Business Saturday, which I don't know a lot of people know about that, but it's important to shop local. It's important to back your local economy. So if you can buy local, buy local. If you have to go to the next town over to get something to support somebody, do that. Like I said, I can't begin to tell you how brokenhearted I was when I was telling my friend about, hey, there's this item that's really cool and I think you'd really like it, because they saw something that I had that was similar, and they were like, that's really cool. Where'd you get it? And I told them I got it where I work, and they were like, oh, cool. In front of me, pulled that item up on their phone and was like, cool, I can order this here. And I was like, awesome, appreciate you. And it broke my heart a little bit. And like, if you're gonna do that, at least don't do it in front of the person that that's telling you, hey, I know this cool place where you can buy this and you can support your local workers, you can support me and the people that work with me. Don't do it in front of them. That's incredibly hurtful and incredibly rude. And I'm not somebody who forgets. I can forgive, but I don't forget. And they've been forgiven, but I'll take that to my grave. That's just how my brain works, and I can't really apologize with it. That's how I was born. That's how I was made. But yeah, support the people that you love. Shop local. If you can, if you can buy it local, and the price difference isn't too dramatic, please, please, please buy online. You'll be able to see the product. I promise you, it will be a better quality than what you're getting online. Buy local, because you're supporting your local community. Anyway, this was a long video and I'm at work and I need to let you go and upload this. So look for the video on YouTube. It's too long for the Tiki Talks. So please, as always, because I'm trying to get as many of these as I possibly can, and it helps. It really does help. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I don't think any of you know exactly how much that helps. Like when I tell people to go to my RedBubble and I'm like, at the very least, just interact with it. Like hit the designs that you like, hit the little heart button. If you can't buy, just at least hit the little heart button. The more that you do that, the more people that do that, they really, really, it drives that into the algorithm and makes sure that more people see it. So do that too. Links to that will be below. Links to my Tiki Talk will be below. And everybody have a good day. Hopefully I'll do at least one more of these before the Christmas holiday this year. And I hope everybody has a blessed day. It's gorgeous out today. Shop local. See you later.